Hello, everyone. Welcome to another amazing episode of Agritech Founders Diary. Here we have conversation with amazing entrepreneurs who are doing stuff in the agritech industries. Today is not different. We have another amazing personality joining us this evening from US, and is going to be sharing some insights into the agritech industry to us tonight. But before we move on, please, I want to beg you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the subscription button. Don't forget to hit the like button. Drop your comments in the comment sections. What lessons learned, your experience, or anything you learn from this episode. Drop it on the comment section, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you get notified whenever we are up like this. Once again, thank you all for joining me, and thank you to my guests for joining me this evening. I'm super excited to have you. No other person this evening. I'm having Dr. Balaji joining me from US, which is really excited. Thank you, sir, for joining me this evening. How was your day? How is everything over there?
I'm doing good. First of all, thank you, Kenneth, for having me in your show, and you are doing a great job in presenting the budding agtech and agri-food tech entrepreneurs, and giving them a platform to tell their about the journey, share with the journey, and what are the challenges as well as the success, whatever they have gained and attained in their way. To the general audience, so people who are trying to enter into the industry can get a feel of what it is and what are the challenges that they have to look for to attain
Yes.
success eventually. So thank you again for having me, and I'm doing good today, and everything is good in the US today at least.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now I want to take us back to where it all started from. Tell us about your entire experience. Where were you born?
Okay,
I mean,
I,
tell us
I
about
am I
story.
am
Yeah.
I am from India, so my home country is India. I was born. I'm from the entire south tip of India. I'm from a city called Chennai in the state of Tamil Nadu, India. And all my
Mm-hmm.
education, I did BS, MS, and PhD. Everything was in plant biotechnology or agtech in India. So after my PhD in India, my first stop outside of India was Israel. I went to Tel Aviv University, Tel Aviv in Israel for my first postdoctoral scientist fellowship. I was there for 4 years, and then I came back to India and started a job as a group lead or a senior scientist in one of the agtech companies back in India, working on RNAi for crop protection from various pest and viral diseases. After 1 year
Mm-hmm.
at that company, I left the US in 2007. And from that time onwards, I'm in the US for the past 16 years and above. And when I came to the US, my first stop was Cornell University in New York. I was there at 2 years, 2 years in the lab of Professor Christine Smart Lab at Cornell. And then I left to Nobel Research Institute in Oklahoma. Nobel Research Institute is a non-profit research institute that works on all aspects of plant research, R&D. I was there for a
Mm-hmm.
couple of years, and then I moved to a gene editing company based in San Diego, California, which uses gene editing as a tool for crop improvement for developing variety of traits and variety of crop plants. I was there in that company for about 2 years, and then I moved to the state of North Carolina in the Research Triangle Park area in North Carolina. I'm here for the past 7-8 years now. After coming to this
Mm.
area, I started consulting for many companies, agtech companies, global and within US and outside of the US. And one of the company I consulted for wanted me to work for them. I said yes, and then I started to work for them for about 4 years. And the company name is Edison AgroSciences, and it works on using sunflower to develop a rubber in sunflower using metabolic engineering.
Mm.
And after 4 years with the company had to move to St. Louis, but I had to stay in RTP area. So I jumped the ship to another company called Greenlight Biosciences, which is one of the world's premierest RNA company. It uses RNA in two fronts. One for human health, like COVID vaccine we are talking about, for the mRNA vaccine for viral disease, like including COVID. On the other side of the spectrum, they're also using double-strand RNA for crop protection, meaning you spray RNA instead of your regular pesticides and herbicides, chemical ones, and the RNA is going to give you the protection from a given pest or a given fungal pathogen or a given viral diseases, or even for a given weed. So I joined that Greenlight Biosciences on the crop side of the company. I started developing RNA technology for crop protection, spray-based RNA technology for crop protection. And then I was with that company for 3 years, and then I moved to the venture world. Right now, I'm working as a chief scientist with UM6P Ventures, which is a venture capitalist firm based out of Morocco, Africa, and it is a subsidiary of a major university called UM6P University there. And we work on four verticals, meaning we invest in startups in working in four different areas. One is the agrobioscience, the other one is industry,
Mhm.
third one is AI, fourth one is energy, green energy, and healthcare. So I'm working with ventures on the agrobioscience side, and I help to ventures to source and invest in the right agrobioscience startup in many different areas like gene editing, precision fermentation, biopesticide, and many other agrobioscience subdomains. So this is what I'm doing currently, and also I help in addition to my this work what I have stated. I'm very passionate about helping the people in the startup world, in the agtech startup world, about how to raise money and how to explore connections. Bridge. Simply put, I act as a bridge connecting the startup founders to the science and the business side of the agtech ecosystem and help them succeed.
I see. Great, great, awesome. Uh, I want to find out from you. You seem to have a lot of experience. You've gathered enough experience in the agri-tech industry. What do you think is going to happen in the next decade in the agri-tech industry? How do you think the agri-tech industry is going to be in the next decade?
Yes, that's a very good question. Yes, the agriculture industry as a whole is a very important industry because because without agriculture there's no food and everybody needs to eat no matter what. Everybody needs to eat three times a day. That's the basic one for all the human on the population and the earth, right? So, in order to feed the current 8 billion people, which is expected to grow 10 billion by 2040, 2050, within about 20 to 30 years from now,
Yeah.
we need to everyone, every stakeholder have to embrace agriculture in one way or the other. It could be a scientist, entrepreneur, investor, worker, doesn't matter who it is, but agriculture has to be promoted in a big way globally. So as we stand, if we see the amount of investment and for somebody in the agtech and the agriculture space, these last 5 years, starting from I would say 2017, 2018 to till now, these 5 6 years has been the best in terms of the amount of dollars or investment going into different sectors within the agri-food tech landscape. To put the numbers
Mhm.
in front of you, 2021 was the best year in terms of the agri-food tech investment globally. I mean, the amount of dollars that went in 2021 was $50 billion. That's a record investment globally. If we go back to 1 year before that, 2020, the amount of dollars that went was almost 28 billion dollars. Okay, so from 28 billion dollars it went to $50 billion, and now yesterday, 2 days before, the ag funder released a report, and now based on the report, now we've seen that in 2022 the investment gone down. It was at peak in 2021, and in 2022 the investment gone down by 44%. So from $50 billion in 2021, the investment in 2022 gone down to 29.6 billion. That's a 44% drop in 2022. Why? There are many
Mm.
reasons for that. One is the inflation, the geopolitical war going on in Ukraine, and this climate change. There are so many other things going on that kind of decrease the investment, but still, even though there is a drop, still 2022 was one of the best year in terms of the agri-food tech investment compared to other previous years. So why people are investing lots of dollars there, why there's a lot of interest in this past 5 years in agri-food tech investment, is because every stakeholder in every part of the globe realize that to feed 10 billion people by 2040, 2050, and also to mitigate climate change, both are very difficult problems. In one hand, you have to feed the increasing population sustainably. On the other hand, you also should not harm the environment and the earth. You have to keep maintain the earth resources. So striking a balance is a very difficult task. That's why everybody realized this climate change and the effect on the food production and sustainability and security. So there's a lot of dollars investments going on, and there are a lot of many startups emerging in this space on different sector in the agri-food tech space. There are a lot of challenges to be met, in order to raise the food production and to meet the sustainability and the demand for the food production globally. But I'm very optimistic and I'm very positive about where the agri-food tech landscape is heading, and I can see a very positive trend.
Good. Good to hear that. Good to hear that. So, what do you think about the venture capitalists? Do you think they are doing enough in the agri-tech industry? Are they really committed finance to agri-tech startups?
Yes, I would say that the venture capitalist, from a venture capitalist standpoint, the amount of investment they are trying to put in into this agri-food tech startups and agri-food tech landscape is going in a really positive direction in this past 3 or 4 years, as I said, compared to what it was before. That's why you saw $50 billion investment in 2021 and about $30 billion in 2022 in the global agri-food tech landscape. And the venture capitalists also realize that agtech or agri-food tech is different from the digital tech. If you want to develop a product in digital tech, for example, you develop a software or an app or a new cell phone or whatever is that in the digital, it takes limited amount of years. For example, within 6 months, within even 1 year, you can develop an app. The, Whereas in agri-food tech, if you want to develop one crop variety or you want to come up with one pesticide or one GMO plant or whatever it is, one ag inputs in general, it takes time. It needs sufficient amount of investment. Also, it takes 5 years, 10 years, depending on what is the product you are trying to obtain. And VCs now are realizing this. Slowly, they are coming in terms with the time and the money involved in order to develop a product for the ag food market, and a lot of corporate venture capital is also emerging in this space. Not only with the private VCs, the CVC, the corporate venture capital arm of these big giants like for example Syngenta, Bayer, FMC, all the big global seed and the crop protection companies in this space, they have created their own ventures and trying to invest in startups, invest in technologies that they can later acquire or they can promote and then be a part of the business. On the whole, I'm seeing a very positive trend from the VC side.
Awesome, awesome, good, good. All right, that's good to hear. What's your take about the gene editing technology that is emerging? What do you think about it? What's your say? Or what do you think about the gene editing? That would be the best way to put it. What do you think about the gene editing technology that is emerging? What's your thoughts about it?
That's a very good question. And gene and to somebody like me, I have worked in both GMO and gene editing for multiple years, for decades now, in both of these technologies. And gene editing in particularly is coming very big in because gene editing is not restricted to a particular space. It's applied across industries. It could be ag, pharma, human health, microbial, food, you name it. It's everywhere. So it all started 10 years back when Jennifer Doudna invented the CRISPR-Cas9. Now it's 10 years old. It also won a Nobel Prize last year. So gene editing is the talk of the town. It's applied everywhere. When it comes to the agriculture, you see, now people have realized or slowly realized, particularly the non-science people, meaning the consumers who are not directly involved in the R&D, they were before hesitant about the GMOs and gene editing and other kinds of more novel technologies. But now, if we see the data coming in, the consumer perception or the consumer knowledge about this gene editing and the difference between what is GMO and gene editing is getting more clearer and clearer as day goes by. And gene editing is getting very big. There are a lot of investments going on in gene editing front, and and one important advantage in the gene editing is that not only the big companies, because when it comes to GMO, only the big companies are the players, because it takes 10 years to develop a GMO. It takes $300 million to investment to get a product and regulatory aspect and all those things. When it comes to gene editing, it's not like that. Even the startups which have raised only 3 million or 4 million capital, they are already getting into a product. They already have their product approved, pre-approved by USDA in the US at least. If you go to the USDA, there are about 168 entries as we speak now. 68 to 170 entries. If you see the product that is there in potato, tomato, wheat, corn, you name any crops. If you see out of that 170 entries in the USDA, there are only 5 to 10 global companies in that. okay, like Bayer, Syngenta, FMC, KWS, and all those other big global giants. Other than that, rest about 70 to 80% of the companies there, they're all startups. Even they are able to get a product pre-approved by USDA. That is the power of gene editing here. Because if you take gene editing as a whole, the amount of time, if you have the right technology, right team, right business plan, everything in place, it takes about 4 to 5 years to get a gene edited product into market. And then what is the amount of dollars? You're talking about 15 to 20 million dollars compared to 300 and 350 million dollars in GMO. And one more thing, because even though if your technology is successful, ultimately you need to get the regulatory approval. That's where you get to the market. So if you take from a regulation standpoint, gene editing is getting very positive signs. As we speak, there are about 20 countries, starting from the US on all the way to India and some of the countries like in Kenya, Nigeria, and Africa, elsewhere. So they have, and South, a lot of companies in a lot of countries in South America like Brazil, Argentina, Ecuador,
Yes.
and a lot of Chile, for example, they are all either approved gene editing or they're very close to approval. If you take India, for example, before 2022, India was not very adamant. They did not approve gene editing. But last year in the April of 2022, government of India officially announced that India has approved gene editing, and then it's not regulated like GMO. Okay, so from the regulatory standpoint, things are moving in a very positive direction. From the consumer standpoint, also they are now trying to understand gene editing food is not something like Frankenstein food or something like that. All you are not missing up anything. It's happening naturally. Even before gene editing came into place, these things are happening naturally. So there's no difference between the conventional breeding and gene editing. So it's all the same. In fact, this is even more specific compared to the routine way of generating seeds and varieties. So in my view, from the investment standpoint, from the consumer standpoint, from the regulatory standpoint, from the R&D standpoint, in every angle you look into that, gene editing is advancing at a very rapid rate. And as we speak, there are only two gene edited products in the market. One is gene edited high oleic soybean, which was developed by a company called Calix here in the state of Minnesota in the US. That's the first gene edited product to be approved and commercialized. And the second gene edited product is GABA, GABA enriched tomato, that is developed by a company called Sanantec Seeds in Japan. And that's the second gene edited product to hit the market. And now there are a lot of products waiting to enter the market. The portfolio of products in a variety of plant in crops by different players. So bottom line is gene editing is a very important tool and part of a new breeding tool technology for crop improvement and variety development.
Do you advise VCs to invest in gene editing? Do you advise to invest in agritech companies that are into gene editing? Do you advise VCs to invest in them?
Yes. For example, the ventures I work for UM6P Ventures based out of Africa. And if you take our portfolio companies in 2022, we invested in 5 or 6 different companies, and one of the company we invested in is a gene editing company. It's called Climate
Okay.
Crop. It's based out of Israel, and what they do is their core technology is gene editing. They're using gene editing to improve the yield of the crop, to kind of modulate the photosynthetic efficiency in crop plants, and thereby increase the yield of the crop, and also at the same time increase the climate resiliency of the crops, to, for example, to benefit the crop to grow under harsh climatic conditions like drought, heat, and less water, and all those things. So yes, we ourselves are invested in gene editing technology, and there are many other venture capitalist firms. They have invested heavily in gene editing technology around the world.
Awesome. Good job they are doing. Now let's come back to you. What inspired you to join into agritech industry? What inspired you to go into agritech industry?
Yeah, for me, when I was a PhD student back at the time in India, when I was doing my PhD studies back, even before I joined PhD, when I was a master's, actually, when I was in master's in 1990s, early 1990s, that was the time the world's first genetically engineered soybean was released. In 1994 was the first ever GMO released into this world
Wow.
by a company called Monsanto in the US. Right? They were the first to produce and commercialize and release genetically modified soybean. And I saw the news when I was a student at that time, and I was wondering, how this genetic engineering is done, what is the science behind that, and how it is done. Then I did research on that. Then I understood it was done using a bacteria called agrobacterium. Then I studied a little bit in agrobacterium, and then it increased my interest on that. Then I decided that I wanted to do a PhD on agrobacterium itself. That's how I ended up in a PhD. And if you take my PhD studies, 60% of my PhD work was on agrobacterium. How to improve agrobacterium? How to improve agrobacterium is a tool to deliver genes into plants, called plant transformation technology, which is the base for GMO. So that's where I started my interest. That's how I started interest in this whole world of agri-tech and genetic engineering, crop protection, and all different sectors. That's how I got into agri-tech, and slowly, from PhD to postdoc and working in industries, I try to develop both theoretical, intellectual, as well as practical knowledge, working on the bench in different aspects of the agri-tech sector. My background and expertise on experience is in about 8 different areas within the agtech. One is GMO, the other one is gene editing, third one is RNA interference for crop protection, the fourth one is alternative proteins, which is plant-based, precision fermentation, cell-based, and the fifth one is plant molecular forming, using plants as a bioreactor to produce whatever the proteins you want to produce in that plant molecular forming. And the other one is the plant pathology or molecular microbe interaction, plant disease resistance, and biologicals or biopesticides. Instead of using chemicals, how can you come up with alternative ways of protecting your crop plants from variety of pest diseases and bacteria and fungal diseases? So this is how brought me into agri-food tech.
Great, great, awesome. Now, I want to ask, since you've been in the industry, what are some of the lessons you've learned? Since you've been in the agritech industry, what are some of the lessons? If you're going to reflect back, what are some of the lessons that you've
Yes,
learned?
that's a good question. Yeah. First and foremost, the lesson I learned is agri-food tech industry is totally different from the other industry like tech industry and the other kinds of industries we have seen. This industry takes time. Anything to develop, and there are a lot of challenges in the industry because we're dealing with food end of the day, right? Directly or indirectly, it's about food. It's about people we are eating. So it takes time. There's a lot of regulatory hindrance to get some approval to get your product, and there's a lot of investment needed. And it's all about here resilience and patience. Those are the two things I learned. It's not like that you work on something and within a 1 year you're going to get a product like in the other industry. It's not like that. These things takes perseverance. It takes patience. There are a lot of ups and downs, failures. It's not like that you do some R&D, you're going to end up in a good positive result you want. No, R&D always fails. 90% of the time you fail in R&D. 10% only you succeed. You have to have patience in order to get the 10%. How to think out of the box and getting new technologies to get to the 10% success rate. So the things I learned was personally is that to be patient, to be perseverance, and be open to changing dynamics in the industry, and also be innovative, and be updated with your technology, because things, particularly in the recent 10 years now, technology is evolving in a super fast way. In order to keep updated, you need to cope up with the rapidly evolving changing landscape. You get yourself updated with these newer technologies by reading articles, or by reading some following some leaders and their posts, their blog, so that you know what is going on in the industry, so that you keep yourself updated.
Great, awesome. That's a very good one. Now, I want to ask, moving forward, what what do you think agritech startups should be doing moving forward? What advice? What do you think they should be doing? Agritech startups coming into the industry, what should they
Okay.
be doing? How can they penetrate the industry?
Yes, that's
Or
a
better still, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a very good question. For somebody in the agri-food tech or agri-tech startup space, some of the things what I have learned personally, because I have worked in 6 industries, and out of the three were startups. So I kind of personally experienced practically the challenges the startup founders and the startup team are facing. you know.
Mm-hmm.
So having that in mind, the first thing is that, a startup should know what they're doing, in the sense that what is the problem they're trying to solve,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and how they are solving it. How unique is their offering to something comparable in the industry? How is that they are unique? What is the different solution they are offering to existing problem, than compared to their peers who are already operating in the problem? So you have to, and you have a bit, and the startups particularly, they should have a well defined team, meaning a team who should consist of members who can complement each other with their different background and expertise. Somebody good in science, somebody good in business development, somebody who is good in legal and IP kind of thing, and somebody who is good in branding, taking the startups or promoting the startups on social media and elsewhere in the events and all those things. So it'd be a mixture of a complement people who can complement their skills to each other, and more importantly, somebody should work as a team matrix, as a gel. Trust is the key, and believe in what their mission and what their objective is. These are some of the things which is very important and essential for a startup, not only in agri-food tech space, for any industry for that matter. Particularly for the agri-food tech industry, the founders, they may be a very good scientist. They are very good in the technology, they are very good in the scientists, very good in the R&D, but that alone will not help a startup to succeed. More important is that these days particularly is that they should have a huge network. If you don't have a network, if you don't know people in the industry, whether it is the science side or business side or in the VC side, your chances of for getting a capital raise like a seed fund or a pre-seed fund, it's low, even though you might be really good in science. So the one of the key things that I always tell people is that, first, increase your network base. Try to reach out to more people and have more people in your LinkedIn network or any other kind of network. Go to events, go to spread your word about your startup, so that you have a great good chance of seeing or being spotted by some VC or some investor, so that you have a great good chance of raising a capital, or some young guy from a university would be interested in your technology. He might be willing to work for you, and getting a team or a team done. So in general, a startup should be dynamic, and then look for all the avenues and opportunities every single day, and by building a huge network. That's the number one thing I would say.
Hmm. Awesome. That's very good. Thank you for sharing that insight with us. Now, moving on, I want to ask, what as what was that one thing, since you've been in the industry for almost 20 years? Is there anything you've regretted?
Yeah, definitely. Everyone has said, in the past 20 years I've been in this field, but I thought I think that maybe I spend a little bit more time in academia, maybe because I out of these 20 years, probably maybe 9 to 10 years, I was at universities in different in 3 or 4 different places. Maybe I thought I am when I revisit the past now, I think that probably I should have cut short that a little bit, and I would have come to the industry and the VC world a little bit sooner than it is now. That's the only thing I regret. But other than that, I also, but I'm also lucky. Even though I spent 10 years in the university, I was really lucky to work with some of the best people in the academia. They're all the most reputed people globally, worldwide, in their respective areas. So in that way, I think that I was fortunate. That's why I was able to put my hands in all the 8 or 9 different sectors I listed out. That provided me opportunity to do the R&D in different sectors. But on the whole, I think that maybe I should have entered. I should have cut short that a little bit less. I should have I should have entered the industry and probably even the VC world a little bit earlier.
As someone that has worked with the VCs, or that has worked closely with the VCs, some VCs company, what do VCs look at for before they invest? Can you share some few tips thoughts? What do they look at for before investing in any agri-tech startups?
Yes. Yeah, VCs look into many things. First, they look into is first your idea. What is your idea? How is
Mm-hmm.
that different from whatever is existing in the market? Whether you
Mm-hmm.
have a tangible product or a business plan or a product idea that is fit to the market, that will have attraction. And more importantly, you have a very good team that is knowledgeable in what you are doing. That's a, as I told, it's a mixture of talents in the team,
Mhm.
uh, and a good business plan. So and they look into variety of things. As I said, the most important is your ideas, whether that idea has a market, and there are players, there are takers for that. And and your idea, your offering, your technology, whatever you are trying to develop, or your product, how unique or different is from the existing players or your competitors. So that is the thing the VC is looking for in general. Of course, they look for many other things, but these are some of the key things.
I see. Thank you for sharing those tips with us. And I believe it will help our viewers and generally my entire audience who are into agritech startups. I believe the tips you share with them will definitely help them. All right, before, as we begin to plan to wrap up the show this evening, I want to ask, how have you been able to navigate the industry? I mean, some challenges you've met. Share with us some of the challenges you've encountered, and how did you navigate the industry? How did you navigate the challenges you encountered in the industry?
Yeah, that's again a good question. Yeah, in a industry pose a lot of challenge on you. First is adaptability. You should be really flexible, because I worked in both academia as well as industry. They work in two different ways, or the mode of operation is different. Academia, as everybody knows, they work on a research project, and their end output is publication. You want to do research, you want to gather data, and your aim, your objective in academia is to publish your results in a high impact journal like Nature or a Science or something like a very high impact journal. That is your end goal. And based on that,
Mhm.
you can write more grants and get more money from the funding agencies to your lab, and spread and increase your lab and your project. That is the scope. In industry is different. Industry doesn't work for publication. They are for profit, meaning they want to make revenue out of what they are doing, right? It's a business.
Yeah.
What they are trying to do is that they want to develop a product. They also do research, they also do R&D industry, but their end goal is product. Whereas in the case of academia, the end goal is publication, research publication. So publication versus product, that is the key difference. But in the case of developing a product, there's a lot of challenges, right? You have a lot of and the industry is dynamic. It's rapidly changing. For example, for a 6 months, you are putting heart and soul on a given project, on a given R&D. Suddenly, at the end of 6 months, that project may not be important to a company's management. Suddenly, it might get shut down. You might be shifted to another project, suddenly another project. So whatever the so what I'm trying to say is that you need to be really flexible. You should not be attached to one given thing, because you're doing one thing and tomorrow you'll be shifted to another thing. You should be really be flexible and dynamic. And more importantly is that you should be a team player in industry, because in most of the academics, you work with probably one or two people or three people at the most. Industry is not like that. You might be working with five people in your own team, and your team cross interact with cross functional teams, with the many other people, right? So you should be kind of a team player who kind of understands the ups and downs of the other people in the other team, the pluses and minuses of the other people, so that your interaction will be cordial. And 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 most of the time is that, it's a teamwork, so you should be relatively a little bit open in sharing your ideas. You cannot hide behind the box. So
True.
so a little bit. And another important thing working in the industry is that, uh, uh, you should try out many things in order to make one thing success. It's not like that, you work on, you kind of work on one methodology or one technology forever. It cannot happen like that. There's a stipulated time to try. If that doesn't work, if it's not going anywhere, immediately you should gear and work on the new technology. So your mind should be open to learn and adopt the new technology. So you should wear different hats, I would say, in general.
Great one. So as we wrap up, do you have any advice or your last words to the agritech startups watching us this evening?
Yes, the agri-tech startups I'm and the one advice or from my experience, what I can share is that it is a very good time to be a agri-tech startup founder or agri-tech startup team, because as I
Yeah.
said in the beginning, when I threw the numbers begin the investment, I have never seen in this past 20 years I have been, these past 5 years, it was the best times in terms of the global agri-tech food tech investment dollars going into agri-food tech startups. That's why you can that's why you see in the news lot of startups emerging from the stealth mode every single day across the world. So agri-food tech startups have a very good future. The only thing they have to do now is that, they focus on the technology and get some uniqueness into that and expand the network base. That's the key thing. Without that, nothing happens. So expand your network base. That's how you get into the eyes of VCs, get into the eyes of R&D people, get in the eyes of even students from academia who want to join your startup and be a part of the team. So it's all about building the network.
All right. Thank you very much for your time this evening. It's been a pleasure hosting you this evening, and I'm super excited. I believe my entire audience have learned so much from your session this evening. We are grateful. Thank you very much once again for joining me, Mr. Balaji.
Thank
I'm
you.
really
Thank
grateful
you,
for,
Kenneth, for
for
having
having
me. Thank you, Kenneth, for
me.
having me in your
Thank you
show.
for
It
sharing
was
your
an exciting
experience.
experience.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm grateful. So it's on this note we're going to call it a day. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. So thank you guys for joining us this evening in Agritech Founders Diary. It's always a pleasure to have you guys always around to join us and watch. Don't forget, if you have any questions, you have any comments, share lessons you've learned from this session, drop them on the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel so we can grow and get more founders to come speak with us here. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel so we can do more bigger things. I promise you guys, we hope to do more bigger things for you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't also forget to also hit the notification bell so that whenever we are live, you can always get notifications. Also, hit the like button. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. Thank you, sir, for joining us this evening. We are grateful. So it's on this note, well, I'm calling it a night.
Thank you.